This is the Wrestlebread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 135 of the Wrestlebread Podcast. So this episode's coming slightly late because there was a lot of things that was going on in my private life. First of all, the craziness with this pandemic. Both of my children had their schools shut down because a bunch of people had caught COVID, and so now they're both being virtual, having virtual learning, and then on top of that, taking COVID tests and making sure everyone is A-okay. It seems like in my household, so far it looks fine, but fingers crossed that test comes back negative, that no symptoms or anything, and the people who are affected by what's going on are 100% better. Also, another announcement that I'm going to make at the end of the show, so please stay tuned towards the end for that. But overall, it's just a slightly scary situation, and with the craziness that's going on around the country and around the world, with the tornadoes and the building collapse, and it's just really crazy right now. 2021 is coming to a close, and yeah, it's been pretty crazy around here. A lot of things that's happened. I know I haven't put out an episode in about 2 weeks or so I am very appreciative if you are catching this episode after all this time. Thank you so much. It's like I said, it's been a lot. But a lot of things has happened. We had the first colorful NXT pay-per-view event. That is not takeover. We are not getting any more takeovers anymore. Now it's just going to be just regular old NXT. And we also have Winter is coming this coming Wednesday, and then day one coming from WWE. So 2021 and the beginning of 2022 is definitely starting off with a bang. So first off, let's get into some news. Biggest news, of course, is that Jeff Hardy has been released by WWE. Footage have recently appeared online where he was at a house show, and you can clearly tell there is definitely something wrong. He was very sluggish. He really wasn't responding. He was going against Drew McIntyre, if I remember correctly. And at one point, he kind of tagged himself out, tried to leave the match through the crowd, which a security guard came and grabbed him and stopped him from leaving. And then a few days later, he got released. And then it came out that WWE had offered to, send him to rehab, and he apparently had refused. So they released him. Matt Hardy then had tweeted a few days later about he's very excited for the future, and it caused some people to think that maybe this was all set up, which I highly doubt. I could see if this was a situation to happen to someone like maybe Ricochet or Sami Zayn, someone who doesn't have a history of addictions, but for us to see Jeff Hardy kind of come out like this, and then this situation happen, and I know people who suffer from addictions. I have someone in my family who suffers from alcohol addiction, and it's very tough. And this isn't something that Jeff Hardy has dealt with just in WWE. This has happened also when he went to Impact as well, and it's just really sad that this is what Jeff Hardy's legacy may be looked upon as. That as great of a tag team he was with his brother, as great of a singles run he has had, unfortunately there will be people who's going to remember situations like this where he has dealt with the addictions and that he just can't get rid of. Now, if it comes out that this is all a ruse and he really didn't have anything wrong with him, then fuck him, okay? Because that's not something that you really should play around with, especially if, well, I really can't say that because WWE kind of made a storyline where his addictions was made fun of and brought up over and over and over again. Um, and I said fuck WWE on that one too. So, um, but if this comes out that he wasn't really sick, which I highly doubt that isn't true, I really think that this is something serious that he may have relapsed. Don't know where it would come from, but if he wanted to get out, he could simply have done what Andrade and a lot of other people have done and just simply ask for a request. Him asking for a release from the company would definitely have made headlines. It would have put a lot of pressure on WWE to do something about it. So if he wanted to go, he could simply ask for a release, let it, leak out to all the dirt sheets and everything like that. I think what we see here is what actually has happened, that there may have been a relapse and that he may feel as though since he refused to go to rehab that, maybe it's not that big of an issue for him. And of course, people started coming out with him going to this place or that place. No. He doesn't need to go to AEW. He doesn't need to join his brother. He needs to get better. The last thing I think should happen with him is for him to go to AEW, show up to a match, not at 100%, and seriously not only injure himself, but injure whoever he is in the ring with. I think him and his family, I hope one day he will find the strength to realize that it's really bad and he needs to go to rehab. He needs to, you know, get rid of these demons or whatever it is that just keeps bringing him back to his addictions. He needs to, face them and defeat them. And I think what's really best for him is for everyone to give the support. Nobody should be joking about, what happened with him, but everybody should give him support and really hope that, he sees where he is at and get the help that he needs. And that's why I give all praise to Jon Moxley to have the strength to say, I have a problem and I really need to deal with it right now. Especially as popular as he was, and, the fact that he was in the Eliminator tournament, and especially with the news that he was actually supposed to win it, for him to just sit there and say, you know what, I need to get this done and I need to get it done now, despite of where I am in the roster and in my wrestling career, kudos to him. It takes a lot of courage to admit that you have an issue and to say that you really need it to get taken care of, especially in the spotlight. I really hope that, Jeff Hardy really, really finds the strength to really look in the mirror and see that there's a problem here and he really needs to find help. He won't be able to do it on his own, and I really hope that everyone gives their support to him. Also, and I found this out because I have kids who play Fortnite. I've tried to play Fortnite. I'm good at the shooting part. I just can't do the building. So maybe I should stick to like Battlefront and probably get into Call of Duty if I'm crazy enough. But yeah. Apparently The Rock is now in Fortnite. There is an island that you play on, and apparently it got flipped by The Rock. So The Rock is now in Fortnite, and I made the joke that The Rock has put Fortnite over more than Survivor Series in the 25th anniversary of his debut. I mean, he showed up even though it was in, animation, he still showed up. He could have, like I said, he could have did something by satellite, put a message out there or something, but no, I don't even think he knew that it was going on. On to much better news. Hacksaw Jim Duggan has went to Twitter to announce that he is officially cancer-free. Very scary situation with him these past couple of months, and I'm very happy that he is cancer-free. I knew that he would take the damn 2x4 and whip cancer's ass, so very happy for him and his family. So congratulations to Hacksaw Jim Duggan for being cancer-free. We also have some news regarding day one that there is going to be a special appearance from Migos, who is the husband, of course, of Cardi B. So maybe they get their wish of having Cardi B land on WWE TV as much as they would love to have her on there. But we'll see if that happens. Maybe she'll be in the crowd or backstage or something, and they show her backstage or something. Also, Shawn Michaels has spoken to TV Insider, and he offered a perspective of Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard's involvement with the colorful NXT. He said that people are out here thinking it's all Vince and Bruce Pritchard type of production. They just are the ones who gave us the direction of what it is they wanted from NXT going into the future. It is still all the team Triple H put in place doing it here. I love learning and growing in different aspects of WWE, but I have a greater appreciation from everything he took on. So basically he's saying that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard has a vision of what they want from NXT, and it's still Shawn Michaels and Triple H who is working on that vision, which I don't know. I know that there is involvement from Triple H, but obviously we can clearly see that Triple H's vision of the black and gold NXT is not being represented here, especially the fact that these past couple of releases has been a lot of the black and gold NXT people. There's also a picture too that started floating around when Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole was talking to each other in the ring, and William Regal was there, and they had the security. If you look closely in the photo, all the security that was in the ring is all NXT 2.0 people, which you could, like, funny, the real takeover that has happened there, where it was Bronson Reed, Von Wagner, I forgot who else was in there. I think his name is Trick was in there as well, that you see standing in the back playing security, which they kind of do a lot. Anytime you see someone playing security or anything like that, it's normally an NXT wrestler. So very interesting to see that going on. But, you know, yeah, okay, maybe Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are not in Gorilla during NXT. You cannot tell me that the same elements are not there that you see on Raw, with the constant camera cuts so you can't really tell what moves are being done. The promo first segments, you know, the promo in the ring, and where there's more promos than there is wrestling, and that, you know, the character work as well. Some characters do work, but there are some where it just doesn't make any type of sense. And like I said, I'm very interested to see, once we start seeing the call-ups between the colorful NXT and Raw and SmackDown, how much change is going to be made to their gimmicks and their names and stuff like that. Now, if this is the way it's supposed to go with colorful NXT, it should be no, like, very small changes made with these gimmicks from NXT 2.0 to Raw and SmackDown. Maybe a slight change in gimmick to try to fit where they are, but the way that NXT 2.0 was set out to be is supposed to be a developmental, just like it was, just like NXT Black and Gold was when it first started out. And then, of course, as we all know, with Black and Gold NXT, it quickly turned into a third brand because of a lot of the signings of people from other indies and other wrestling promotions as well. I'm interested, so I'm trying not to be like so biased against NXT 2.0, because I want to give it a chance. It's really hard though when you know how good a product was, and then you see it get like wiped away, buried, and then sit there and say, we're going to create something better than that, but it's going to have the elements that you do not like from the other brands. And so I'm trying to give NXT 2.0 a chance. And like I had said before, I listened to Clark Street Wrestling. Devin really likes NXT 2.0, and Hafiz doesn't really like NXT 2.0. And they were talking about it, and Devin made the point of you have to separate it from the Black and Gold NXT and look at NXT 2.0 as just a straight up developmental. Very similar to the way it was with the Black and Gold NXT. And so I'm trying to look at it that way, trying not to be, negative Nancy out here and saying, oh, I hate NXT 2.0 because that's not the flavor of the month. And I like some of the characters that they have there, and, I see the potential in it, and just trying to be like, okay, let's just wipe the slate clean and just completely separate it. But it's kind of hard not to compare when they have the same name of the pay-per-view events as the Black and Gold. And I guess if they had just simply named it something else, I know you want to keep the NXT name since it is developmental, but if they just not done the 2.0, I think that's what really kind of I can't wrap my head around, because when you say 2.0 or anything like that, that means it's a better version of what it was before. And so I don't know, I gave it a chance. I watched NXT WarGames, stuff like that, and I'm going to tell the truth about how I feel, and I'll get into NXT WarGames very shortly. But yeah, it's still hard because the talent that is there, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's just frustrating, I should say, because WWE had something good. They just didn't capitalize on it like they really should. As we see with NXT 2.0, WWE is really promoting the hell out of it. You watch Raw and you watch SmackDown, and they show the commercials showing NXT every 15 to 20 minutes or so. And when it was the Black and Gold NXT, it was you didn't hear anything about it. You bring up the people from NXT Black and Gold, you change the names, you change the gimmick, you change the outfits, you change what makes the person special, and you basically don't even give them a chance to have the casual crowd really get into it. It worked well for Bianca Belair at a certain point, but what goes up must come down. And so now she's been defeated so many times by Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch cheated to defeat her, but still, like I said, the biggest thing with WWE is that wins and losses don't matter in WWE. It's always about dominance and TV time. And so WWE, for some reason, and that's the part I don't get, they do this whole thing where they want to protect people. They're so afraid of having someone lose that they throw someone in for a triple threat, or it's DQ or no contest, or it has to be cheating in order for their win. When wins and losses don't really matter. You can bump into the champion backstage and you automatically get a title shot. As we saw a few weeks ago, someone stole $1 million egg and got a title shot out of it. Now that part was pretty weird with what we seen between Vince McMahon and Austin Theory. I don't know where we're kind of going with this, that we're seeing the makings of when he liked Drew McIntyre and said Drew McIntyre is going to be the face of the company, if that's what we're working on as far as Austin Theory. But yeah, very weird here. So getting into NXT WarGames, I don't think there was a pre-show match to it. If it was, I definitely didn't check it out. But we did open up with the women's WarGame match. Overall, I I wasn't the biggest fan of the match. And the thing is with WWE, like, you get slightly confused because you don't know if something is completely storyline or if it's real. So with Cora Jade, she did a high risk maneuver, as they like to say. She did well, I think it was a swanton bomb. She did a swanton bomb off of the top of the cage onto I think it was JC Jane, who was on the table, and she landed. First of all, she didn't really get like a full rotation before she hit the table, and she landed on her shoulder. She immediately pops up, she's screaming in pain and everything like that. And so I didn't know. I was like, oh snap, she's really injured. And it's like, okay, so what are we gonna do here? Because she's obviously in pain. The refs are like on the outside, so they're like kind of, they don't really know what to do. It seems like you see her like slowly crawl to the side of the cage, and she starts talking to like the medical staff and stuff like that. And then we saw Io Shirai, my Io Shirai, my spirit animal, told them I'll take care of it. And she pops the shoulder, and you see them like disappear for a couple of minutes. So I'm like, okay, she's legit injured. And for some reason, they allowed Io Shirai to pop her shoulder back in, reset the dislocated shoulder. Um, and then from there, it was a lot of attention put on Cora Jade, shoulder injury, and they were saying how courageous she was and stuff like that. Um, and a lot of the action happened in the first ring, where Cora Jade and Io Shirai was in the second ring, and then there came the spot where the women are supposed to stand face to face. Kylie Rae looked like she was about to attack Cora Jade with the Kendall stick, but then she handed her one. And then there was a lot of like teasing to Jade and stuff like that. So she tried to fight off the four women with a Kindle stick herself, and there was a bunch of craziness that went on top of that. Io Shirai, of course, climbed to try to climb up to the top of the cage. And I have to say, Io Shirai really wasn't used to her full potential in this match. So after I watched this, I actually went back and watched the first women's WarGames match, where it was Io Shirai. It was Team Shayna Baszler versus Team Rhea Ripley. It was Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Kylie Rae, and Kaylee Ray, and Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Tegan Knox. So we had three of the women who was in the first ever women's War Games match in this match, and it was just like really night and day. And it wasn't really as much like the talent, because there was some moments of this match that was pretty good, but it was just like the match wasn't fluid. It felt like they went in there with like no plan at all. Like, I can understand that the Jade are injuring her shoulder. They of course had to call an audible with that one, but still, like, Io Shirai was like very watered down in this match. Um and even though, it was a bunch of Kindle sticks that was in there, so I wasn't really expecting like a lot of chair shots and stuff like that, like we got in the first one. But even still, there's like an expectation when it comes to a War Games match. Like, you expecting like war, like, you know 10 toes down, let's you know let's do this for our team type of situation. And this match, it felt like this was all just to put over, the NXT 2.0 person, which I kind of felt that way for this pay-per-view, that this was going to be nothing but putting over the newbies and stuff like that. Whether they worked hard to deserve it or not, it don't really matter, because that's what it was about. And that's what we kind of saw here. There was a bunch of chaos that was going on. Cora Jade was laying there, with her shoulder. And I think it was JC who was sitting there. Jane that was laying there, and Cora Jade decided to just roll her up, and that's how they won the match. And then they celebrated with her, and she was put over a lot, but it's just like it just felt like a watered down WarGames. Now this may be my sick sadistic self who remembers all the chaos from the women, not only from the black and gold NXT, but going as far back as like Sasha Banks and Bayley. Like, you don't really need to have like all these crazy table spots and stuff like that, but at least let it be some type of hard hitting. And in this match, we kind of had like botches, stuff like that. Like, I guess my point is that the expectation of the quality of this match when it comes to a WarGames match doesn't fit the fact that, it shouldn't, how can I word this? The expectation you have for a WarGames match was set too high. The bar for that is too high for the women in this division, for this NXT 2.0. You had the pieces there. You got people like Io Shirai who definitely can take it to a 10. You had Kaylee Ray. You had Dakota Kai. You could even say people like who else we had in there? I mean, you had it set up, like you really did. You have Raquel Gonzalez. She, of course, could have been the powerhouse in there. And you maybe even say Mandy Rose can definitely take it there. But it just felt like they could have, but they just didn't. It was a bunch of kendo sticks and stuff like that. It wasn't really like hard hitting or any like, there wasn't any, it was a safe match, I should say. Which you really can't do in a WarGames match, because a WarGames match, it calls for a level of quality for wrestling. And we really didn't get that here with the women's WarGames match. Especially the fact that I think this was the third or the fourth one, and the ones that we had seen previously definitely took it to a 10. And I really didn't feel this with the women. I felt as though they went the safe route for this. Like, I guess, Cora Jade getting her shoulder injured was kind of like threw everything to the side. But they didn't let her get eliminated. And they really, I mean, kudos to the women for calling the audibles. I can't talk right now. For her getting injured, that they kind of, directed the match accordingly with her getting injured, but still it just didn't feel like it was together, if that makes sense. So after that, we had the tag team of Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner going up against Imperium. And, I don't know about this Von Wagner guy, man. He doesn't really have I don't get his gimmick. Like, he's just kind of there. You don't really have a personality. Like, if you hit default on a creative wrestler in WWE 2K, like if you hit default look, default entrance, default like theme, default ring gear and moveset, you would get Von Wagner. And it's not really a shot. I really hope that he improves. Like, if they're still doing this whole you pick who it is you want to be, somebody needs to help him. And if that gimmick was given to him by creative, someone needs to get fired, go back to the drawing board, because you didn't give him anything. You kind of just told him, just stand there as the love child of Edge and Giant Gonzalez, and you just do your basic wrestling. Imperium is so good. Imperium is so good. Chef's kiss. I really miss these guys. Like, definitely one of my favorite faction in the Black and Gold NXT, of course, besides Undisputed Era. Them going against the Undisputed Era at Worlds Collide, I was so happy with that match. But I don't know, this felt like not really on paper, but I know that I knew that even though Von Wagner was in the match, I still had, and maybe that's my issue, that I'm like putting these expectations out there for this when I really shouldn't, because this is developmental. But I had the expectation that this was going to be a good match, and I'm very happy that they did deliver. Now, the Wagner, but the thing is that I forgot which member of Imperium was on the top rope, and he did a like very high frog splash, and Von Wagner didn't really catch him. Now Von Wagner did a lot better in this match than he normally did, but it's just like, I don't know. He's still new. He still needs work. I feel as though he's not exactly ready for the position that they're trying to put him into. Like, they really want to make him a star. Obviously, they put him on SmackDown to be Adam Pearce's little bodyguard in case Brock Lesnar shows up. But he's just like, he's not there. He needs a change in his gimmick. He needs a different look. Like, he's very generic. And it's not even, he don't even have like a generic gimmick, or personality. It's just like bland. He is as dry as turkey. And I'm hoping that, it's just one of them situations like we have seen. Oh man, who is the perfect example? I want to say Bianca Belair, but Bianca Belair was good in when she was in NXT, and I was when she was heel, like, I felt as though there was something missing. And then once you got to know who she was as a person, and you see how nice of a person she was, and once they turned her face, it clicked, and I felt as though, okay, now this is who this is what will take her to the top, I should say. When she was heel, it just wasn't clicking because she is naturally a very nice person, and she doesn't really know how to really like switch it to where as though she's very mean because she's very nice, and it just wasn't clicking for her. But when they turned her face, it all fell into place for her. And it's not really like that with Von Wagner, because with Bianca Belair, she had a gimmick, she had personality, she had, you hear the music or you see the gear or something like that, you immediately know that's Bianca Belair. Like, she sets herself apart from the rest of the roster. With Von Wagner, like, it's just not there. And, rest in peace, God bless Dusty Rhodes. NXT 2.0 needs Dusty. I think that's what really helped a lot of the wrestlers in the Black and Gold NXT, is you had someone who's very good at character work, help people who don't really know who they should be as a character. And with him, putting in the 2 cents, go like, maybe, tweak this, because, he helped out Sasha Banks with the boss gimmick. He told her, like, that's it. That's who you are. And hopefully they have someone in the back that can, fill in that role of telling someone, like, that's not the gimmick for you. Can't really say Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is really good as far as like promos and stuff like that. But I just really hope that there's someone back there that can really help Von Wagner with the gimmick that he should be. Just not, I'm a tall guy standing here with my hair and my basic personality. Not even a basic personality, because there's no personality there, but he's just there. And I'm really hoping that they do something with him. So this match, Imperium won, which I really didn't expect to happen. But the weirdest part is what happened after the match, where, we all know that this was Kyle O'Reilly's possible last match, that he was leaving to go wherever to become a free agent or something like that. So this was like kind of like the last hurrah. And then the weirdest thing happened was Von Wagner decided to attack Kyle O'Reilly from behind, thus turning heel. And then Kyle O'Reilly sat there. He threw up the Undisputed Era hand signal, did a bunch of suckets and stuff like that. And I was very confused because I'm like, okay, we're turning Von Wagner heel? So I was like, okay, maybe this will kind of help him, give him like some type of fire under him, maybe him being able to express his frustrations with how the fans are reacting to him or something like that. But then again, it don't really make sense because Kyle O'Reilly is leaving. So it would make sense for Kyle to turn heel to kind of give Von Wagner a bit of that, not really underdog, but empathy for him. Like, you feel bad for him that he got beat up or something like that. But maybe they're thinking 10 steps ahead and realize we're not going to feel sorry for this guy because there's not really that much of connection. But there's a connection with Kyle O'Reilly. It's just very confusing with that booking. Like, why are you making Von Wagner the heel? You are distancing the fans even further away from this guy. But then Kyle mentioned that he is going to face Von Wagner in a steel cage, I believe it was, in the steel cage on Tuesday. So I'm like, okay, but I'm not sure why we turned this man heel. After that, we had Cameron Grimes versus Duke Hudson, hair versus hair match. This match, the very strange build, first of all, with this whole poker game and the poker game that happened in the middle of the ring. And I really feel as though this wasn't I was about to say takeover. This wasn't really a pay-per-view type of match feel to it. It felt like a match that you would definitely see on regular NXT. Like, there was nothing special to it besides the whole hair versus hair. I really felt as though, like, the stakes, I know, pun intended, the stakes wasn't raised high enough for this to feel like a very intense pay-per-view match. It was just like, maybe because you don't really have that much of connection to Duke Hudson, because it's like all he does is, play poker games. Why should I care for him? In the end, Cameron Grimes won the match, and then of course he went and shaved Duke Hudson's head, which we will get into what happened on Tuesday, the fallout from that as well. But yeah, this was very strange build, and the match just wasn't really, it just really wasn't that good, I should say. It was just very like meh, very. It's a lot of what we see with WWE's pay-per-views. There's always a match or two that's thrown on there that's like, this is a match that you can just see anytime during the week. Like, it's nothing special with this. So after that, we had Roderick Strong versus Joe Gacy for the Cruiserweight Championship. This was another match, just like, it just doesn't make sense. Joe Gacy is a very good wrestler. We clearly could see that once he is between bell to bell, he's very good as a wrestler. It's the gimmick that I don't really get. It's this weird Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt, but woke type of situation. He mentioned how the Cruiserweight isn't inclusive because, he's not a Cruiserweight. He's not Cruiserweight, and that he wants to, invite he wants the belt to be for everyone. But then he has, and I call him Baby Brock Lesnar because I keep forgetting what his name actually is in the, I forgot what his name is, but he's the guy who looks like, Brock Lesnar. I think his first name is I think it's Parker Boudreaux. Yeah, I know I probably got that wrong. I know his first name is Parker. But he looks very weird, with the shaved head and stuff like that, and just kind of like standing there with, the straight face. I guess it's supposed to be Bray Wyatt with Brock Lesnar or Luke Harper or something like that. But uh, story wise with this, I don't get it. Joe Gacy saying this is a you know this is a protected place, safe place. I meant to say that the ring is a safe place, and he doesn't want to fight, but he is a wrestler. And then there was the part where the woman from Diamond Mine, I forgot her name. She's the small woman, very very muscular. She was close to Joe Gacy, and then Parker picked her up and just kind of like picked her up and like held her up there. And then Joe Gacy, his name is Harlan. That's right. His name is Harlan. And her name is Ivy Nile. I had to refer to my notes here. He picked her up and just kind of like held her there. And then Joe Gacy told him to put her down. He put her down. It was just like, it was just confusing. In the end, Roderick Strong retained the title, which I am slightly surprised about. I thought that this was going to be like clearly all NXT 2.0 people winning, except for Cameron Grimes, because of the way it's set up as far as the hair versus hair. I kind of figured that Duke Hudson would get his hair cut off, versus Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes already got his hair cut, so I didn't think that they would do it to him twice. But yeah, this match was just like, it was the low point of the pay-per-view. I wasn't really like emotionally involved in this, because I'm still confused about the character of Joe Gacy, and I'm confused about Harlan as well. Yeah, it was pretty, even the crowd really wasn't into it that much either. And then we get to the men's war game match. Team Black and Gold versus Team 2.0. Now I have to say, this was one of my favorite matches of the night. This match actually held up to the whole standard that is the War Games match. This, of course, was the last match of Johnny Wrestling, who came out to Rebel Heart, which I could have cried. I mean, I love that theme. And a lot of themes that I really like, I don't just listen to whenever it comes on NXT. No, I listen to these joints on Spotify. So, like, the love is real. And I really love Rebel Heart. And so I was very, very happy that he came out to that song. And I was like, oh, yeah, he is definitely leaving. Now, of course, everybody felt as though he may be going to AEW. I feel as though that he is just going to retire. Not really retire, but he's just going to take some time off, enjoy, the pregnancy and enjoy the birth of their son as well. And then once that happens, then he will decide if he's going to re-sign with WWE at that point, or if he's going to go somewhere else. But very, very happy for Johnny Gargano, wherever, the next step is for him. Him and Carmelo Haynes started the match, and they have really good chemistry, I have to say. Very good chemistry. And then from there, we had Grayson Waller, who I'm not quite sure about him either, but, we had Pete Dunne, of course, who contract was up, and I believed he had re-signed. If I'm not mistaken, he re-signed because he wants to make sure NXT 2.0 is successful. So bless him. I hope he is used properly with NXT 2.0, or if they decide to pull him up to the main roster, which would probably be very crazy because he re-signed to work with NXT 2.0, and then they just pull him up to the main roster anyway. And then after that, we had Tony D'Angelo, and then we had Trick, who helped him with the getting weapons, stuff like that, kendo sticks, chairs, and garbage pails. And then Trick had went underneath the ring, and then you see Dexter Lumis, who then comes from underneath the ring. He chases away Trick Williams and then turns to Johnny Gargano and puts up the thumb, and they, gave each other the thumbs up, which was a nice touch. And then Tony D'Angelo had locked the cage with a chain and a lock, and so LA Knight couldn't get into the ring, and then he climbs in. I can't wait for LA Knight to go up to the main roster. I feel as though he has charisma like The Rock. Like, he is made to be on the main roster. I would love to see him go against The Miz or something like that. I think that would be a very good feud for him to start off with. So LA Knight couldn't get into the ring, so he climbed into the ring, and then Braun Breaker, Baby Steiner, they called him Big Booty Nephew, I think it is. I call him Baby Steiner because, oh my God, she is like his father and his uncle, yo. And so he comes down, and of course, this whole time, the refs were trying to use bolt cutters on the chain, but for some reason, they just couldn't get it together. Here comes Braun Breaker, like, move, I got it. And he takes the bolt cutters, and he had trouble with them. I said, come on, Baby Steiner, don't do this. You gotta channel your uncle. Here and just break it apart with your hands or something. But he was having trouble with it, and then he eventually gets it. Then comes in and starts like kicking ass to everyone. Then of course Tommaso Ciampa comes down, and him and Johnny Gargano. I don't know if anybody caught on to this little Easter egg, but they had a crutch. Johnny Gargano, I think it was Johnny Gargano who had a crutch in his hand, and they both looked at each other and was just like, yeah, I remember that. Of course, the moment when Tommaso Ciampa had turned on but I think it was one of them. I think it was when it was the turn, and one of them used the crutch on the other. And so Johnny Gargano then gave Tommaso Ciampa the crutch, and it was a lot of offense on the NXT Black and Gold team as well. And then of course, all hell breaks loose. Waller then climbed up to the top of the cage, and it looked like he was supposed to give an elbow from the top of the cage. But it was actually, it looked like he was about to do a dunk because he was definitely dressed up like he was about to play some NBA. And the way he jumped off, he didn't even put out his elbow. The way his body was positioned as if he was about to do a dunk on somebody. And then of course, I think he did it on LA Knight that was on the table. A bunch of back and forth. And then there was a spot where Carmelo Hayes tried to attack Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa went to put him, I don't know I forgot what move he was going to do, but he had him between his legs like he was about to do a pedigree. And then here comes Braun Breaker, went to spear Tommaso Ciampa. Luckily, Tommaso Ciampa let Carmelo Hayes go right before he got speared, because Carmelo Hayes almost got speared himself. And then we got Braun Breaker, who pinned Tommaso Ciampa to get the win on Team 2.0. Afterwards, of course, we saw the DIY reunion as well. And afterwards, after the celebration of NXT 2.0, we had Johnny Gargano, who had stayed in the ring. He cut a promo to the crowd, thanking them for their support during his NXT career. And then we also had people who came out to congratulate him. We had Kyle O'Reilly who came out. Tommaso Ciampa, of course, who, they both sat in the middle of the ring and cried. We had Candice LeRae, who was ringside as well. And then Shawn Michaels coming out to hug Johnny Gargano. And so, definitely planting the seeds of that this is the last hurrah for Johnny Gargano, who mentioned that he was coming on to Tuesday to explain everything. So I know sometimes when someone is leaving the company that they kind of give them a moment to speak their mind, which hasn't really happened recently, of course. So I was very curious of what was going to happen to Johnny Gargano. I figured that he was just going to announce that he's retiring, because you can always unretire. But just for, to make sure that his wife is okay, not trying to draw up bad blood between him and WWE, that he was just announced that he's going to retire to, go home and be a dad and, just kind of like enjoy life for once. Which, of course, on Tuesday, Johnny Gargano comes out to the Rebel Heart theme again, and he went over his history, thanking William Regal and his fans and everyone like that for his opportunity during these past years and his love for NXT. And then Grayson Waller kind of, come out and blast him with a steel chair. Actually, that's when he had people come out to ringside to congratulate him and kind of like say goodbye. And that's when we got Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly and Shawn Michaels hugging him after that part as well. I guess to put over Grayson Waller, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be any anything happening from this. So I don't know. That was a bit weird to have Grayson. I guess, to kind of like sign Johnny Gargano off by putting him through a table and stuff like that. And then see what happens from Grayson Waller. Because Grayson Waller has kind of just like been there, like kind of playing echo to everyone. He kind of repeating what everyone else is saying when he does these team matches and stuff. So for him to kind of like get the rub to become the top heel, I guess, quote unquote, let's see what happens with Grayson Waller from there. The other match that may be the last match of someone we have seen was Kyle O'Reilly versus Von Wagner in a steel cage. Once again, Von Wagner, very, 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 still, like I keep saying, dry as turkey. I still don't get why Von Wagner has turned heel. They're still sticking with it. Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner going back and forth. And if you watch him kind of like move around in the ring, Von Wagner, it just seems like he's not really sure of himself. So I don't know if it's just like he's not connecting to, he doesn't have a character or a gimmick for him to kind of like connect to, or if he's like very nervous, or if he's not confident or something like that. But he definitely needs to go back to the drawing board and, promo classes, if they're still having that or not. But in the end, Von Wagner had defeated Kyle O'Reilly with, he did like this underhook side slam. I don't even know if he has a name for the finish. But he pinned Kyle O'Reilly 1, 2, 3, which was kind of expected, seeing as though Kyle is potentially leaving the company. And then Kyle was crawling towards the outside of the ring, and then Von Wagner went to smash his head. You can clearly tell the cage wasn't really, like, Kyle O'Reilly was too far away from the cage door to really be affected, but, it is what it is. But I'm very curious of what we're going to do here with Von Wagner. If we're going to keep him heel, or if, we're going to sweep this under the rug as if nothing has happened. But yeah, all in all, like, I'm still going to give NXT 2.0 a chance. I'm going to continue to watch it, especially since we'll be having, NXT events from here on out. I'm still going to give it a chance and, kind of like hope for the best for it. Because, whenever there's good wrestling out there, the thing that always, the people who always win is always the fans. Speaking of which, things that fans win, let's talk about Aew Dynamite, which came from Long Island. Now, amazing thing, amazing thing that we saw was that WWE had also went to Long Island, and they were promoting Edge returning and the 3-for-1 tickets and Roman Reigns showing up and stuff like that. And it really didn't do too much. The crowd was pretty much dead. And, there were moments where, you could have got a reaction from the crowd, but you really didn't. They sold, I think, 7,000 tickets where the arena can hold 11,000 people. But WWE only went to set it up for 9,000 people, I believe. Whereas though AEW sold a lot more tickets. You could look at it for different reasons. WWE has been in the New York area a lot very recently. So maybe they overworked the market, that people weren't really interested in going to a WWE show after, especially the ones who really like WWE, who may have gone to the, I think it was Arthur Ashe. Was it Arthur Ashe? No, I don't think it was Arthur Ashe, but I think it was Madison Square Garden they went to. They was there for September 11th, and I think they went there in October or November or something like that. So, it could be that people were just worn out from WWE, from coming back to back to back to back. Who knows? Or that there wasn't really much interest on what could have been on the card. Even though they did promote Edge and Roman Reigns, maybe people felt as though it wasn't really worth the money to be spent, because WWE tickets aren't really, no, I can't even say that, because they were offering 3-for-1 tickets at one point. But, maybe people was like, I'll catch you guys at the next pay-per-view, or, something like that. But with AEW, my goodness, it was crazy. We had a very lively crowd, and the biggest question was if they were going to cheer for MJF, who is from Long Island. And, you was like, you sit there and think like, yeah, there'll be people who cheer for him. There's normally some people who cheer for him in every city. But what we thought we would get and what we actually got, for me, was two different things. This felt like motherfucking Bret Hart in Canada during the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold feud. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, back when Stone Cold and Bret Hart was feuding with each other, Bret Hart was the face and Stone Cold was the heel. And during their feud at WrestleMania 13, we got the first widely known double turn where Stone Cold went from the heel to the face towards the end of the match, and Bret Hart went from the face to the heel. And Bret Hart was booed like he was the top heel of the company. And he was really the face. And it was a very confusing time for WWE because, they are very famous for having the faces and the heels. And it wasn't that often that a heel was cheered as if he was a face. So WWE had no choice but to turn Bret Hart heel at a certain point. And, he would cut these promos and basically was like anti-America at a certain point. And this was with the Hart Foundation. And this was back when Brian Pillman was alive. So he was part of the Hart Foundation along with Davey Boy Smith. I think it was Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Owen Hart as well. And I feel like I'm missing people. I feel like I'm missing one more person. But yeah, the Hart Foundation, they were booed. They would come out with the flags and stuff like that. Oh no, that was all of them. It was Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Brian Pillman, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Davey Boy Smith. And if you ever seen, there is a photo where you see the Hart Foundation standing there, arm in arm. And Bret Hart is the only person still living from the Hart Foundation, which is incredibly sad. Yeah, it was the picture of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Brian Pillman, Bret Hart, and Davey Boy Smith all holding up their hands together, and everyone else's picture is gray except for Bret Hart to indicate that he's the only surviving member of that Hart Foundation. But yeah, booed very heavily. But when they went to Canada, oh my gosh, it was like the second coming of Jesus. People were cheering for these guys. It was, it was a hero's welcome. They come out with the Canadian flags and stuff, and it was the complete opposite of what normally goes on in WWE programming. And this was the exact same thing. It was amazing. It was amazing. I haven't felt like such awe for a hometown, a home field advantage. I mean, you can say like Chicago, but normally Chicago cheer for, the person who's normally like a face anyway. So every time they cheered for CM Punk was cool, but not of someone who is a heel everywhere else, except for this one city that they grew up in, that they get a hero's welcome. And that's what they got with MJF. And I feel as though AEW knew that MJF was going to get cheered. I don't think they realized how heavily cheered he would have been. So I guess, they decided to kind of like switch things up and stuff. CM Punk comes out to MJF's music, which you hear the crowd pop so loudly. And then once they see it's CM Punk, they booed him. And CM Punk, he comes out, he, cuts a promo like, that's your guy. This is who you're cheering for. He starts attacking, their hockey team and stuff like that. And, they start, coming at their hockey team and stuff like that, just really getting so much cheap heat. And it felt like CM Punk was like kind of waiting for this moment to really like get the cheap heat and cut on the crowd and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that they decided to do this with CM Punk, for him to not really turn heel and be like, I hate everyone, but kind of like turn heel just for the city because of their reaction. And yeah, maybe, like I said, AEW, I feel as though was not prepared for what was going to happen. Like, they knew he was going to get cheered, but they didn't really expect for them to loudly boo CM Punk like that. And there were signs like it was Monday Night Raw in 2001. It was crazy. All the signs for MJF. Craziness. Like, it felt like MJF paid all the tickets and invited all of his family members and friends and former, high school classmates. It was crazy, but it was fascinating and fun at the same time. And then from there, we had the Dynamite Diamond battle. So I didn't realize I forgot the way that the Battle Royale goes for the Diamond Ring. I thought that whoever wins is the last person standing is who will win the ring. But instead, it's the last two people who are left. Then they have a match the next week for the ring. And so, yeah, I figured MJF was going to win this, which he actually did. But then we see with Dante Martin, he eliminated Ricky Starks and kind of like set up, the turn with him and Team Taz, which I thought kind of came a little too quickly. I would have loved to see this kind of like flesh out, but I guess they don't really want Dante Martin to turn heel. But yeah, this was it was very fast. First of all, this Battle Royale. Jay Lethal was in this match. I didn't even know Jay Lethal was in this match until he got eliminated. And so it was just like not wildly, I don't want to say, thought out or anything like that, but the fact you had Jay Lethal in this Battle Royale and there was just like nothing for it, it just felt like everything wasn't really prepared correctly. But in the end, like even MJF turned around and did like a babyface move of saving Dante Martin from the beatdown, which the crowd like immediately ate up. So, it was very crazy, like I said before. Um, we also had the return of Trent as well, looking very different, the head shaven and everything like that, with Sue. And then, of course, now we got the infamous you gotta give them what they want with the best friends hug that happened twice. We also had Jamie Hayter versus Riho, which was a very good match. I would have to say Hayter's best match so far in AEW. Very good women's match. I'm very happy that we can, really see like the potential there is for the women's division in AEW. I just really hope that we still get more matches from the women. Like, let's get this going. Like, let's, it's AEW's chance to become the best women's division, because as we see with the women's division, NXT is no more. We got the NXT 2.0 with a lot of women who are just as green in the ring as AEW's women. With the main roster, there are a lot of women on the main roster who's not really used properly. And of course, if it's not, the two, I mean, they have three main storylines going. The storyline with Becky Lynch and then Liv Morgan, the storyline with Charlotte Flair and Toni Storm, and now the feud between Naomi and Sonya Deville. So it just feels like if it's not with the Four Horsewomen or with the Authority, you're just kind of sitting in the back somewhere. So I feel as though it's AEW's chance to really like get it together and really work the women's division, put more women's matches on TV, let the fans get to know these women and connect with them and stuff like that. For the women to get more confident being in the ring with each other and being, wrestling in front of a lot of people. Because, I feel as though the talent is there. They just need the practice and I'm looking at you, Red Velvet. Practice them fucking moonsaults, because the moonsaults are pretty bad. But yeah, definitely is a chance for the women's division to be very good. And then we get to Bryan Danielson versus John Silver, of course, who is from Long Island. He got cheered as well. And I have to say, oh my gosh, Bryan Danielson is so good. So good. And a lot of people mention that he is a heel, which he actually isn't a heel. He's the same person he was when he came in to AEW. The only difference is perspective. He came in saying that he is a pro wrestler and he wants to face the best, and he kind of was cutting similar promo against Kenny Omega that we see with Hangman Page. He believes that Hangman Page is not very good in the ring. He's not a good wrestler, and he feels as though Hangman Page got lucky and won the match. And so, as we are winding down to Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page for Winter is Coming, we have this amazing setup of Bryan Danielson just going through each member of the Dark Order in their hometown. And so, yeah, very good. I can't wait to see what happens with this championship match. It can like really go either way. They can definitely hand Bryan Danielson his first loss against Hangman Page and have him go absolutely crazy by losing to Hangman Page. And we can also have Bryan Danielson defeat Hangman Page and kind of like not really reset the situation, but maybe set a fire under Hangman Page, and we get to see this more aggressive, hungry Hangman Page, finally getting that taste of gold and wanting it back. And, creating a nice feud between these two that can go on, that can go on for maybe a few months, I would say, until Kenny Omega comes back, of course. We also had a weird segment where the Varsity Blondes and Julia Hart was on stage with Tony Schiavone getting interviewed, and then the lights went out. And of course, everyone goes crazy because Normally when the lights go out, that means somebody is debuting. Unfortunately, for people who were pretty excited to see possibly Johnny Gargano or Kyle O'Reilly come out, it was actually Malachi Black who appeared. And he sprayed black mist into Julia Hart's eyes, and she screamed like crazy, where Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison kind of looked lost, didn't really know what to do. Very interesting as to why that happened. I don't know if, if Julia Hart is going to turn evil or something like that from the Mist. Why did he go after her? Maybe this is setting up a feud between him, Brian Pillman, or Griff Garrison. I don't know. We didn't get an explanation, so now we gotta wait till winter is coming or something like that to finally get an explanation of what's going on. But yeah, Bryan Danielson, he's so good. So good. Anytime that you become like such a popular, face wrestler, the baby face, the underdog, and you can turn it around and make the fans boo you. And, like he had the yes movement going. And just like, when he was going against Kofi Kingston, now we have him going against Hangman Page, which is, the bigger underdog than him. And now we see, like I said, it's all about perspective. He's cutting the same promo. He's the same person he was when he came in, except for he may be a little bit more assholey because he feels as though who he is going against, who has the title that he wants, is not on his level, So getting into AEW Rampage, the biggest news, of course, is the debut of Hook. It's very crazy how Hook went from a meme, the whole send Hook thing, and now he debuted and he looked like $1 million freaking bucks. So I was watching a YouTube video. I forgot the name of the YouTube channel, but they was talking about Hook and, everything like that. And he mentioned how CM Punk is afraid of Hook. And they showed a photo from AEW Philly where it was the guys who had the sign that said Punk fears Hook. And you see me and my son there. My son popped when we was watching it. But yeah, that photo is floating around the internet. So I don't know, like now, is it like my 20 minutes of fame now? Or am I still in normally it's 15 seconds of fame. So maybe it's 20 seconds of fame now. Did I reach a minute maybe? Or am I still on my 15 seconds? I don't know. However, that's besides the point. Hook. My goodness. If you want to talk about a great debut for a second generation wrestler who we have never heard speak, I don't think we ever heard him say a word on AEW TV. And he is like an internet darling. It's the craziest thing. He had Action Bronson for his theme music. Like, what? And then, he comes out looking with, of course, the ridiculous ass hair, looking like he's gonna, like, it reminds me of Daniel Garcia, who like looks as serious as if he is Brock Lesnar. And that's how Hook came out, with the boxing shorts and the shoes, boots and stuff like that, with the chewing gum and the fucking chain. And he went against Fuego, who deserved all the flowers in the world. It takes two to tango. It takes two to put on a good match. I'm happy that this wasn't a squash match, that this kind of like was a bit back, not really, yeah, it was a bit back and forth. To kind of like show off what Hook can do. Because if this was a squash match, you really couldn't, and you don't really see what he can do. But props to Fuego. Definitely. He sold everything like $1 million bucks. But Taz's son coming out here, Taz on commentary, being such a proud dad, with, using these suplexes and takedowns and submissions and stuff like that. And he used the Taz mission for his finishing move, which they say is called Red Rum. Of course, spell it backwards. It's murder, just like in the, and of course, which also coincides with the movie The Shining. But my goodness, so impressive. The crowd ate it up, cheered for him like crazy. Can't wait to see what we have in store for this guy. Of course, after his big debut, Tony Khan had announced on Twitter that he is officially signed to All Elite Wrestling with a contract. Very impressive though. So now everyone cannot wait for him to send Hook. CM Punk, of course, went to Twitter to he posted a gif of a penguin packing up, and he said, "Me after seeing Hook's debut on Rampage," and it's a penguin packed with a suitcase, hauling it out there. Then of course, so now it revealed that Hook had a Twitter, and then you go to Hook's Twitter page, he's only following one person, which is AEW Wrestling, not even following his dad, no post or anything like that. And this mofo got probably 20,000 followers at this point. Very crazy. I may have been one of those followers as well, because I'm like, shit, you impressed me. You didn't even say a damn word. And, you looked like $1 million. You wrestled pretty good. And then, of course, people started making comparison between him and Dominic Mysterio, of course. Now, yeah, the debut match of Dominic Mysterio wasn't as, high level as Hook was, but you have to understand he is trained by someone else. Taz does a lot of submissions and stuff like that. Very aggressive type of wrestling, whereas though Rey Mysterio is more of a high flyer. So you can't really compare the two. You really can't compare the two. I mean, we had Dominic really, I don't know, he was, in and out. He was featured during the feud between Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar. So you really can't compare the debut, because we saw Dominic, do a few moves here and there anyway before he debuted. So it really wasn't... we got a peek of some wrestling from Dominic before he debuted. Whereas though with Hook, everything was a damn mystery. It was like looking for entrance to Area 51. It's not happening. You have to wait for it to happen. You have to wait for his debut to see what the kid is even all about. But yeah, very impressive debut from Hook. Very impressive. So getting into wrestling this week, I honestly did not get a chance to check out WWE Raw, but I did hear that Liv Morgan had a very good match against Becky Lynch. A lot of people wanted her to win the title, but apparently she didn't. Becky Lynch actually used the rope again to pin her, and so people felt as though Liv Morgan was cheated. I mean, we kind of knew that Liv Morgan wasn't going to win the title, unfortunately. That title is going to stay on Becky Lynch until they decide someone is going to take it off of her, which I honestly don't think is going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. I think it'll happen at WrestleMania. But I did check out SmackDown. Where we have Brock Lesnar, who was, saying kumbaya with Sami Zayn, and then Paul Heyman acting very surprised that Brock Lesnar was acting very nice with Sami Zayn, and kind of cut a promo on Brock Lesnar saying that he is going to be, one day the future reigning, defending, undisputed champion. And then you slowly see Brock Lesnar kind of snap, and he start taking out the nurses that Sami Zayn had with him, took Sami Zayn out of the wheelchair, and you see Paul Heyman standing there with that sadistic smile that he normally has when he watched Brock Lesnar work. Of course, as Paul Heyman was leaving the arena, Caleb Braxton walked over to him and asked him if she spoke to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar asked me to ask you if you are his advocate again. And then we see Paul Heyman walk off, of course, setting up the doubt. Is he not going to turn, which I guess we're going to see at day one. We also had Toni Storm and Charlotte Flair going against each other. A match that was kind of set up, not really in the best of ways with this whole pie situation. But of course, Toni Storm won. She defeated Charlotte by disqualification. How do you say because Charlotte Flair would not stop attacking Toni Storm on the ring apron, and the match was pretty short, and she wouldn't stop at the count of 5 and thus got DQ'd. And, that's what we do here. We also had, the big match, the main event of who is the best tag team in the division, which I don't know why we did that. We could have easily done something like this at Survivor Series, something like that. But, it is what it is. We had the New Day versus RK Bro versus the Usos in a tag team match. I'm surprised it wasn't a tornado tag because we could have easily, as we saw during the match, you just keep Randy Orton on the outside, just beat up on Riddle most of the match. I kind of figured that the New Day was going to win. I know that RK Bro is very popular, but it really made 0 sense for a Raw team to win on SmackDown to become the best tag team. I felt as though it's something that could have happened at a pay-per-view. You definitely could have saved this for the Royal Rumble, possibly, to do this whole best tag team in WWE. But, I felt as though it was very weird that they did something like this. But, I guess they had to fill in. I guess they had to fill in whenever they can. Also, first of all, Naomi versus Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville's outfit, damn. I mean, okay, wow. Of course, it wasn't going to be a straight up Sonya Deville versus Naomi. She had named Shayna Baszler as the timekeeper and then Natalya as the ring announcer. And it looked like all three was going to gang up on Naomi. And then we got the debut of Xia Li, who is also, I can't even call her my spirit animal. That is Io Shirai. But I love Xia Li, and my goodness, her debut, chef's kiss. It was first of all, I love the visual, when she had stroke a pose and it kind of gave her this comic book look. Loved it. Definitely made her look like she was $1 million. It was lightning and stuff like that. It was very Marvel. And yeah, I loved it. Now, if they can keep this up with her, my goodness, I wish. I really hope they can keep this up with her. But, I'm not holding my breath to it. We'll see how long this lasts until, it is what it is. But I am happy that they threw her in, one of the hottest feuds on SmackDown outside of Charlotte's title reign. So I'm hoping that they keep it up with her. It seems like we're going to have her team up with Naomi a lot with this. Going against Sonya Deville, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler here. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the match that's coming up next SmackDown of her and Naomi versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler. But where do we go with Xia Li from here? I mean, her whole promo vignette that they were doing for her is her helping people in need. So Naomi needed help. She's here. What happens once Naomi doesn't need help? Who is she going to help? Who is she going to help next? That is really a good question. Who the hell is she going to help next? Because, it's not a lot of people who needs help unless you're talking about help getting a match and not sitting in catering all the time. I just hope that she doesn't fizzle out like Asuka or Shinsuke Nakamura or like a lot of people we have seen who came up from NXT to the main roster. But I guess we will have to see what happens next week and the week after, and if she's going to be doing something at any of these pay-per-views coming up. So that's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give some shout outs. Shout out to Julian and Rob Bass from Wrestling Core Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jade from the Keita and Jade Show. Chris from We Talk Next podcast with Keita that is featured on the Keita and Jade Show. Dando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. And also shout out to Straight Talk Wrestling, Circle Debate, Top Rope Wrestling Talk, and Marks with Mikes. Definitely check out those podcasts on Twitter, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts as well. So what's coming up, and this is the, if you stuck around to this point, thank you so much for listening. Big announcement, like I have said, I'm actually going to be taking a hiatus from the podcast. Nothing really bad. I decided to rebrand the podcast. It's not going to be anything big. The podcast will stay the same name. It's still going to be Wrestlebread. I'm still going to be the host. It's just going to have not really that big of a different look. Slightly different like logo and maybe a different intro. Just like really the ideas I have for the podcast in 2022 and beyond. I just feel as though it's time to kind of set it in a different direction. Like the format's going to be the same. I'm still going to be solo podcast, doing recaps and stuff like that. But I am opening it up with me doing more on the YouTube channel as far as like doing reactions and stuff like that, and looking into starting to do video episodes as well. So when I upload, it's going to be an audio episode and a video episode. Mainly, well, the audio episodes first, and then eventually video episodes. Well, as I'm still in the planning phases, but there won't be any more Twitch channel for myself. Only because the amount of dedication it takes for Twitch, I don't like half-assing sometimes. I do half-ass sometimes, but I don't want to I don't want to half-ass. So the amount of time and dedication it takes for a Twitch channel would be too much, and I feel as though I would be sacrificing the podcast, which I don't want to do. I really like doing podcasting. I love the things that has opened up for me. Um, you know, um, you know, meeting different people and meeting a lot of other podcasters and people on Twitter who likes to talk about wrestling and stuff like that. And I have come to know a lot of cool people through this, and I don't want to stop. And so I decided to, and instead of spending 3 nights on Twitch, stuff like that, I can easily turn that time around and put it towards the podcast. So as much as I would love to, because I had plans to do like the end of the year awards and stuff like that, like I did last year, and do a giveaway and stuff and cover Winter is Coming and Day One and all this other stuff, I decided it's best for me to like kind of take a step back and really concentrate on what it is I want to do with the podcast, rebrand it, give it a new look, give it a new intro, and enter 2022 with a clearer picture of what it is I want to do with Wrestlebread. And so I really enjoy your support. If you've been listening since day one, I really appreciate it. If you haven't been listening since day one, won't you just take this time and, listen to the previous episodes? It may be like old news and stuff like that, but, you can kind of relive a lot of things that has happened with the past 2 years. But I look forward to the what's going to happen from here on with the podcast, and I hope you stick around and continue to support me in the podcast. Now I won't be gone forever. You can definitely find me on Twitter at JDC137. That's JAYDEE, the letter C 137. You can also click the link in my profile to also connect to me through Instagram and TikTok as well. It may still show a Twitch channel, which it won't be. However, I may be open to doing Twitch to talk more wrestling and stuff like that, especially from doing recaps and stuff like that. Who knows? You can also find the podcast on Twitter at Wrestlebread. Click the link in the bio for Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTube channel as well, which is also going to be rebranded as well. I have a lot of ideas for the YouTube channel. It's just a matter of, getting it all together. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. If they're like I said, with the YouTube channel, I plan to do like reactions to matches that I never seen before, doing mini predictions, stuff like that. But yeah, really just doing a lot more with the podcast and, a lot more content for you to enjoy. It's all about, creating a space in this internet where you can come, hang out, listen to me go crazy or get hyped over, wrestling and WWE and AEW and all this other stuff. And, just kind of like whatever bad thing is going on in your life that you can kind of just not really think about it for a little bit. The world is crazy right now. We still got this pandemic going. A lot of craziness, like I said, going around the world, and, Mother Nature doing the craziest things, of course. And, to be able to kind of bring a smile to someone's face or a chuckle, or, you kind of forget of, how crappy life can get from time to time. I've done my job. And so let me know your thoughts, leave a review, let me know how you feel about it. And if you don't connect with me on Twitter from here until the end of this year, I really hope that you have a safe and happy holiday. Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate it. I think Hanukkah has passed. I'm not 100% sure, but happy Hanukkah. And then I hope you have a very safe and happy new year. I will see you in 2022, or else you can connect with me on Twitter, and we could talk football and video games and the crazy nerd stuff and wrestling and everything like that. But yeah, catch you guys in 2022 with a new and improved Wrestlebread. And until next time, guys, peace.